So in today's video, me and my friend are attempting to survive 100 days in a Minecraft ocean-only biome. This was probably our hardest challenge yet, but was extremely fun to record. So as always, if you do enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. So without further ado, let's dive right into the 100 days in an ocean-only biome. And there we were, stranded in the middle of the ocean. We knew we'd have to act quickly if we wanted to survive. So we looked around and found some abandoned ships. As I went down in to get the loot, I managed to get some emeralds, some lapis, and also some iron. We then grabbed some wood, made a crafting bench, and then created an iron axe. I then also grabbed some doors so I could chop up all the wood on the ship. And for the rest of day 1, all the way through to day 3, we were just exploring loads of different treasure maps that we found in the ships. And we managed to find some pretty good loot. After exploring all day and night, we then finally found this nice little coral area, so we set down base. On day 4, I knew that we'd need resources quick, so I went down into the mines and began mining. We then encountered a lot of mobs, and which we managed to get a skeleton to kill a creeper, meaning that we got a music disc. At the start of day 5, we murdered some creepers on a platform we made nearby. And then we found a ravine nearby, which had some diamonds in it. Whilst exploring the rest of the ravine, we managed to find a spider spawner, which had another music disc and a golden apple. After that I continued mining, and then we found some dirt, so I grabbed it all up to make a farm. We unfortunately didn't have enough dirt to finish the farm, so we used what we had and put down some sugarcane and bamboo. We also then planted down some potatoes. At the end of day 7, I then saw some zombies having a dance battle. Through days 8 and 9, me and my friend decided to go travelling, in which we encountered a trident zombie. So we killed it, and to our surprise we actually managed to get the trident. This was insanely lucky. Through days 10 and 11, we kept exploring, found another treasure chest with some decent loot in it. We then came across a small little island full of sand, so we decided to mine it all up. But before we could do that, we had to deal with the pesky zombies. By the end of day 11, we'd finally made it home. Through days 12 to 13, I was just mining up a load of cobblestone, as I wanted to build a mob farm. After grabbing up all the cobblestone, I decided to start making the farm. But when I got up there, I only had one bucket of water, so I had to use my bucket of pufferfish. And when I placed it down, it hit me off, resulting in my first death. I now officially hate pufferfish. By the end of day 16, I'd finally finished the mob farm, and it was working pretty good. Through days 17 to 19, we decided we wanted to go to the Nether, but first we had to deal with the mobs that were sat in the mine. And we managed to get another music disc. After arriving in the Nether, we grabbed some resources, and then we took on a bastion. Unfortunately, it didn't have any good loot, so we grabbed up some blackstone and headed home. On day 20, I constructed a new platform with the resources I'd just gathered from the Nether. For days 21 to 22, I punched a zombie, and then I headed back to the Nether, purely to get more blackstone, and all the other resources I'd need to build a new house. For days 23 to 25, I killed some of the hogs for the leather, and then grabbed up a bunch more wood. On my way home, I climbed up a hill, and then when I got up to the top, there was a skeleton waiting for me, which ultimately shot me off, down to my death. On day 26, I spent the whole time going back for my stuff, and unfortunately, by the time I arrived back, my stuff had despawned. I now officially hate skeletons and pufferfish. Oh, and then of course, to make things even worse, as I was going back through the portal, a ghast shot me, meaning that I had no way back. I then burnt to death in lava. So I now also hate ghasts. For days 27 to 29, I went down into the mines to grab as much resources as possible. I then randomly decided to fight my friend who didn't fight back, and I ended up accidentally killing him. He wasn't too happy about this. And this is all the resources I came back with. For days 30 to 31, I decided to head back to the Nether to gather up all the resources that I lost when I died to that skeleton. After another 2 long days of gathering resources, I then managed to find a ruined portal, so I decided to trade with a piglin to get some fire charges to then light that portal up. After getting back through the portal, you guys aren't going to believe this, and you're definitely going to think that I cheated for this, but I actually managed to come out right by a stronghold, which was absolutely insane. So I found the portal room, and then decided not to loot anything yet. I wanted to wait for my friend, so I headed back and made it back by the very end of day 34. After getting back, I showed my friend all the resources I'd gathered, and then we set out for the stronghold. For days 35 to 41, we spent the entire time just searching through the stronghold, in which I managed to find an efficiency 4 book. We then also managed to find some villagers, so we trapped them in the stronghold room, and I set off on my journey to make some weakness pots. On the way, I managed to find a bastion, which had a mending diamond pickaxe inside, and 2 pigstep discs. After days of searching, I finally came across a nether fortress, so I grabbed up all the blaze rods, found my way back to the house, and then headed back. After crafting up the brewing stand, I made up some potions of weakness, and then headed back to the stronghold. After giving my friend a weakness potion and a golden apple, we began the curing process. And finally, on day 42, both the villagers were cured. Now we just had to find a way to get them home. We finally managed to get them into boats and then headed home. And by the end of day 43, we finally managed to get them to the house. On day 44, I went back to the Nether to grab a lot of blackstone, as we'd need this to build that house. So through days 45 to 48, I began construction on our new house. So enjoy this little cinematic of me building. By the end of day 48, this was the finished product on the house. I then converted the loft into a little area for our villagers to stay. And of course, on day 49 through to 51, I then began moving all of our stuff from our chests outside into the chests inside the base. On day 52, I then combined all the diamond pickaxes I found and made a really good pickaxe. Through days 53 to 54, we started the day off by farming up our mob grinder and then I headed back to the spider spawner, as I wanted to begin construction on a new mob farm. Finally, at the end of day 54, I'd completed the spider spawner, and it worked pretty well. Through days 55 to 56, we decided we didn't really need the mob farm anymore, so we took down the entire area. For days 57 to 58, you guys already know that I do love myself some good villager trades. So I began doing some decent trades on the villagers, getting a 1 emerald book for infinity, which wasn't too bad. And I also got an efficiency 5 book, which was pretty good. Through days 59 to 60, we then headed back to the nether to get some netherite. And on day 61, I made up some diamond armor, and then did loads more villager trades. I managed to get a mending book, which is pretty good. For days 63 to 64, I then began construction on another new platform. At the end of day 65, I'd completed myself a sugarcane farm and a bamboo farm. At the start of day 66, a wandering villager finally spawned, and we were hoping that it would have a sapling, but unfortunately it didn't. So I grabbed some cactus, and then we murdered him. For the rest of day 66 and 67, I then installed another 2 platforms onto our island. Through days 68 to 71, I then began construction on an iron golem farm. We then made a mini roller coaster for our villagers, so we could get them into the farm. And finally, by the end of day 71, the iron golem farm was completed, and it worked perfectly. For day 72 to 74, we headed to the nether again to grab up as much quartz as possible for loads of experience. But of course, the trend of me going to the nether, I ended up being killed, losing all my levels and progress. So, by the end of day 74, I'd finally managed to get all my levels back. On day 75, I'd used all my levels to do some enchanting. And I also made a pretty good pickaxe. On day 76, we then head out for the Ocean Monument. we make light work of all the Elder Guardians, and then find the room we were looking for, the Sponge Room. After completing the Ocean Monument, we decided we wanted to try get more Netherite, so through day 77 to 79, we went back to Netherite mining. Unfortunately, we could only find 9, which wasn't enough to go with the rest of what we had to make 2 each, so my friend got 2 ingots and I only got 1. Through days 80 to 81, I then did some last minute enchantments on my shield, my axe and my bow. And then we added some cool looking banners to our shields, just to style it up a little bit. Through days 82 to 84, we'd once again headed back to the Nether to grab up a bunch of blaze rods so that we could make the Eyes of Ender. And on day 85, I upgraded my sword and then turned it into a Netherite one, along with my pickaxe as well. My friend then used his ingots to turn his armour into Netherite. And just as we were about to set off for the stronghold, on day 86, we then found another wandering trader, which finally had a spruce sapling. So we captured him in a minecart and then called him Terry. After abducting Terry, we then planted our spruce sapling in the middle of our farm, and then we headed off for the stronghold. Throwing pearl after pearl, until finally we found the stronghold. But it wasn't the stronghold that we remembered, it was a different one. So we explored it, and then by the end of day 89, we finally put the pearls in and entered our final battle. After finally defeating the Ender Dragon, we then grabbed up all the experience, grabbed up the egg, and then headed for the End Gateway. after passing through the end gateway, we spent the next 2 days looking for end cities, in which we found 2, but unfortunately they didn't have a ship, so we kept on going. But after days of searching, we finally managed to find an end city that had a ship, so I headed up and grabbed up my elytra. And of course, don't forget, have to grab the dragon head. After a few more days of searching, we finally found another end city with a ship on it, so that my friend could also get an elytra. Once we had both got an elytra, we decided to head to the top of this end city, so that we could elytra off and fly back home. But I kind of messed up my ender pearl and then fell to my death, not clutching the water bucket, and then I watched as all of my loot was flown off of the map. This was not a good day. On day 100 I was pretty annoyed, so I didn't really play it all this day. All I did was watch as the sun set for the last time on my 100 days on the ocean only biome.